Tycoon Tan Sri Syed Mokhtar Albukhary is looking to take MMC Corp private via a selective capital reduction or SCR for RM2 per share. In a bourse filing, his vehicle and MMC's largest shareholder, Seaport Terminal Johor, announced that it will be conducting the exercise for the 1.47 billion shares or 48.24% stake it does not own in the company. In total, it will be spending 2.94 billion ringgit to cancel the shares. As it currently stands, MMC's latest issued share capital stands at 3.05 billion shares worth 2.34 billion ringgit. The RM2 offer price represents a 70 cent or 53.85% premium over MMC's last traded price of RM1.30. Seaport Terminal will also conduct a bonus issue to increase MMC's share capital to a level sufficient to execute the SCR. The exercise is subject to shareholder approval at an upcoming EGM, and the acceptance period is until July 15th. The announcement confirms the Edge's earlier report that MMC will be privatised via an SCR at RM1.80 to RM2 apiece. Sources familiar with the exercise said the privatisation is to pave the way for a bigger restructuring exercise that could involve the listing of its port business. As at March 31st, MMC's balance sheet shows that its cash balance was at 553.3 million ringgit and other investments amounted to 2.08 billion ringgit. Malaysia's death toll from COVID-19 has breached the 3,000 mark after 103 new deaths were recorded today. That brings the total number of fatalities to 3,096. This as the country's daily new COVID-19 cases climbed to 8,209, taking the number of infections since the start of the pandemic to 595,374. Selangor reported the highest number of new cases at 3,125 after it hit a record high of 2,836 last week, as mass testing continues in the populous state. According to Health DG Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah, the Klang Valley made up 48% of today's cases. 7,049 individuals recovered today, which means there are still 83,331 people battling the infection. 880 patients are being treated in ICUs, with 446, or about half, needing respiratory assistance. As for progress on the country's inoculation program, Khairi Jamaluddin, who is coordinating the efforts, said today that Malaysia's vaccination rates had surpassed Indonesia, Thailand, the Philippines and Vietnam as of yesterday. He said this includes individuals who have received at least their first COVID-19 vaccine shot. The government aims to administer 150,000 shots per day by this month, before increasing them to 200,000 shots by July. Yesterday, the country recorded 105,655 vaccine injections. Tycoons on the 2021 Forbes Malaysia Rich list saw a rebound in their collective wealth after their fortunes dwindled for the past 2 years. According to Forbes Asia, their collective wealth rose 14% to nearly $90 billion, or about 370.98 billion ringgit this year. That's up from $79 billion, or about 325.85 billion ringgit a year ago. In a statement, Forbes Asia said the reversal of fortune can partly be attributed to the country's dominant position as a medical glove maker to the world. Among the 50 richest, 5 are glove tycoons, with 2 ranked in the list's top 10. They are Harta Legas Kwan Kam Hon at number 7 with $3.8 billion, or about 15.67 billion ringgit, and Top Glove Corp's Tan Sri Dr. Lim Wee Chai at number 8 with $3.5 billion, or about 14.44 billion ringgit. Meanwhile, Robert Kwok continued to top the list with a fortune of $12.2 billion, or 50.31 billion ringgit. Tan Sri Kwek Lang Chan remained at number 2 with about $9.6 billion, or about 39.59 billion ringgit. Press Metal Aluminium's Tan Sri Paul Kun Po Kyong and his brothers are in third place, with a net worth of $6.4 billion, or about 26.39 billion ringgit. Brothers Tan Yu Ye and Yu Wei of Mr. DIY Group are the richest newcomers, at number 10 with a shared fortune of $2.7 billion, or about 11.13 billion ringgit. The pandemic did, however, take its toll on 19 listees. Among the hardest hits were casino moguls Tan Sri Dr. Chen Lip Kiong at number 9 with $3.4 billion, or 14.02 billion ringgit, down from $5.3 billion or 21.75 billion ringgit in 2020, and Tan Sri Lim Kok Tae, who is now at number 11 with $2.55 billion or 10.52 billion ringgit versus $3.2 billion or 13.2 billion ringgit previously. 7 from last year's list dropped out, notably AirAsia's Tan Sri Tony Fernandez and Datuk Kamarudin Meranun. The minimum net worth to make the list this year was $315 million, or about 1.3 billion ringgit. The Ministry of Finance says Putrajaya has received 336 million ringgit or $80 million from audit firm Deloitte as part of a settlement deal linked to the 1MDB fiasco. In a statement today, the ministry said the funds were deposited into the Assets Recovery Trust account, which is under the custody of the Accountant General's Department. It said it is also in the midst of settlement talks with KPMG, another former auditor for 1MDB. To date, the government has received some 16.37 billion ringgit in seized and repatriated 1MDB funds. The sum excludes the settlement amounts of 2.83 billion ringgit expected from MBank Group soon. Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Abdul Aziz said the current balance is sufficient to service 1MDB's debt obligations for 2021 and 2022 only. He said once all recovered funds in the trust account have been utilised, the government will still have to continue bearing the burden of servicing 1MDB's debt obligations. Deloitte was appointed as 1MDB's auditor in December 2013 as a replacement for KPMG Malaysia, which was sacked after it wanted to issue a qualified audit report for 1MDB's 2013 financial statements. This was in relation to a difference of opinion on the fair value of 1MDB's investment in Bridge Global SPC through Brazen Sky, a company linked to Low-Tech Joe. On taking over, Deloitte verified the FY13 and FY14 accounts without any qualification or emphasis of the matter. Oil and gas giant ExxonMobil's shareholder preliminary voting points towards ousting former Petronas President and Group CEO Tan Sri Wan Zulkifli Wan Arifin as a board director just 4 months after he was appointed to the board. This arose after preliminary tallying of shareholder votes from ExxonMobil's May 26th AGM, where Wan Zulkifli's name appeared to be missing from its June 2nd statement, which listed expected re-elected board members. Based on preliminary results, re-elected board members are Darren Woods, Michael Angelikis, Susan Avery, Angela Braley, Ursula Burns, Kenneth Frazier, Joseph Hooley, Douglas Oberhelman and Jeffrey Urban. According to the statement, the oil giant's board is expected to include engine number 1 nominees Gregory Goff, Kaisa Hitala and Alexander Karsner. However, ExxonMobil cautioned that the statement is not a confirmation of any sort and stressed that the voting outcome is yet to be determined. Wan Zulkifli first joined the ExxonMobil Board of Directors on February 2nd, 2021, as the first non-American to be appointed.